Warframe has been an enigma to me for many years. When it first released, I got 1,000 hours of gameplay in before inevitably quitting. Fast forward a few years, and I've made the great decision to return. More than ever before, I'm starting to really understand what Warframe is, what it can be, and today I want to share that with you. For the uninitiated, Warframe is a looter shooter that takes the power fantasy to a level previously unseen. Your power is incredible, your speed immense, and your control over the experience is second to none. Warframe is a game with effectively endless content. There's always something to do. Let's run through what it's like to actually play the game though, and cover some of the most fundamental systems that I feel make the game great. As a new player, you'll constantly be on the search for new weapons, better mods for those weapons, new companions, and even new Warframes, your actual playable character. Your goal is effectively to move through the galaxy, mission by mission, planet by planet. Similar to Borderlands or Destiny, you'll regularly be scrapping old gear for the newest shiny that you find or craft, making Warframe pretty much on par with those other experiences. It's different, it's unique, but it's equivocal for all intents and purposes. I strongly recommend seeking out a guide when you first begin playing, be it a friend, a clan, or just some random people that you're matchmade with, since the early game is easily the hardest part of Warframe. Once you push through that initial barrier to entry though, you start to see what Warframe is truly all about. At middle tiers of play, you'll be hunting for rare mods, grinding for some of the more difficult to acquire Warframes, and dabbling in the wide world of player trading. While trading is a giant topic for another video entirely, I do want to briefly speak to the actual gameplay experience at the middle stage of play. This is far and away going to be the most fulfilling point of the game for you once you inevitably reach it. You'll be comfortable here once you have a set of gear that can kill any enemy in standard star chart missions, and have finished up all the single player quests. At this point of the game, you'll be spending a lot of time managing your inventory and running Void Relics. Void Relics are used in special, rotating missions across the star chart to give access to what's called Prime Gear. Oftentimes, this Prime Gear is a very slight upgrade from the base version, both in stats and appearance, or sometimes is entirely unique. Most weapons or Warframes that you acquire from these relics require 4 or 5 pieces spread across separate Void Relics in order to put them all together and craft into one singular new piece of gear in your foundry. So, as an example, let's say you want to make a brand new Warframe. You're going to need 4 separate relics. One that'll drop the main blueprint, one that'll drop what's called the chassis, one that drops the neuroptics, and one that drops the systems. You need those 4 parts to go together in order to make the actual final Warframe. So it's going to be a minimum of 4 missions, but realistically speaking, you have drop tables, you have loot tables, you have percentage chances of dropping common, uncommon, or rare items from each of those relics. You're going to need a lot more than 4 runs of given Void Relic missions in order to actually get the thing that you want. And if you're a fan of looter shooters, if you've already made it this far in the video, if you've played the game long enough to get to a point where you want to farm a prime version of a Warframe, it's not so ridiculous that it makes you not want to do it in the average case. In the average case, it's very achievable, it's very doable, it's very replicable across multiple different frames and weapons. It is fun. It is personification of the chase. It's all there, and it's all good. To say it another way, you're at the mercy of RNG here, but again, remember you're playing a looter shooter. This is an approach to gear farming that lets you control the RNG in your favor. It's never a fruitless endeavor. The game shows you just how likely you are to get a particular item, and the loot pools are artificially kept small in order to combat the grind from becoming too hard. you will work for your gear, and it's going to feel good when you finally get it. But ignoring a few outliers here and there, the process is pretty fair. And even if you don't roll the exact rewards you want every single time, you can always make use out of whatever item does drop. Now, at this phase of the game, at the middle tier of the game as I'm calling it, you're going to feel in control of your own destiny, and you'll be expected to set your own goals and reach your own personal milestones instead of the ones the game shoved in front of you while you were a new player. The game asks you to actually use your brain to think and plan your actions at this phase of the game, and teases you just enough that you'll always be left thinking about what the next thing you want to do might actually be. As is the case for lots of parts of Warframe, it hits that balance perfectly of getting you addicted to the chase without making it so hard that you're completely dissuaded from it. Now, at the top end of Warframe, things start becoming very formulaic. You'll be min-maxing your weapons and Warframes to participate in raid light style missions like Eidolon captures and sorties. You'll also engage with the random roll portion of Warframe, so-called raving mods, with between 2 and 4 random stats of random categories that have the potential to boost your gear to utterly absurd levels. This fundamental mechanic of random rolls was clamored for by Destiny 2 players for what feels like forever, and was only just added to the game. Yet, Warframe has had it for a long time now. At this stage of the game, you're going to be spending most of your time doing some of the same things over and over, but honestly, that is the entire experience of Warframe. That is the entire experience of pretty much any looter shooter. It's not a criticism, just the truth of the genre. If you even make it to this tier of play, it's safe to say that you're okay with the repetitive nature of Warframe, so let's talk about it. In the true endgame of Warframe, your feeling of the chase, which hooked you in the first place, is mostly gone. You'll run your daily sortie mission just because, well, it's a daily mission and gives a chance at some exclusive and mega powerful rewards. It's a good enough reason to log in, and that's about it. Maybe you'll feel like hitting up a Kuva flood or two in order to get a special resource allowing rerolls of the stats on some of the raving mods that you farmed up at this point in time. Maybe you'll hit up a Nightane alert if you happen to stumble across one. If you're into capturing Eidolons, you'll be grouping up with others to farm as many of those as is humanly possible in a given Earth night cycle. Maybe you'll have some other minor goals, but really, the chase here is not to go wide on as many new cool things as is possible like you used to, because frankly, there just is not enough of them. I mean, there is plenty, don't get me wrong, there's a lot, but there's going to be a point where you run out. At this point, you're going tall. You're investing deeply in only a few things, and are scratching the end of the grind pit. Again, like a lot of the negative points I've brought up so far, they're not inherently bad. For a lot of players, and I mean a heck of a lot in this over 5-year-old game, the feeling of progression in the end game does somehow still manage to exist and feel rewarding. It may sound bad on paper, it may sound bad the way I present it now, but for some reason, literally tens of thousands of people are playing this day in and day out. They're still participating in the grind, even above Mastery Rank 20. Even when they have the vast majority of the gear in the game, they have some of the best gear in the game, they can play any content, whatever way they want, whenever they want. They're still playing, and they're still grinding. There's something there. Now, none of this even begins to dwarf the true final boss of Warframe's endgame, fashion. This game is quite literally all about fashion and vanity. I promise I'm not joking when I say this. Let me put it to you this way. Your job in Warframe is to break the speed of sound and kill the hell out of as many evil space aliens as you can in the most stylish of ways possible. Warframe is a sandbox for you to flex insane amounts of power on poor, hapless baddies, and the spectacle of it is important. Getting the color combinations on your Warframe just right finding the perfect armor attachments, scarves, capes, glowing and dangly doodads. All of it is legitimately hard to get right. Finding a style, an aesthetic that suits you, then getting the premium currency to make that style a reality is the true final boss of Warframe. I do not want to begin to admit the amount of time I've spent staring at my Excalibur and my player ship, not even because I wanted to improve the look, but because I was just so satisfied with what I had come up with, and it was straight up pleasing to my eye. Now, before I start ranting for too long about why my Excalibur is the best looking one out there, let's switch gears a little bit and hit some more meta topics about Warframe. And no, I'm not talking about the metagame within Warframe. This is a game you can very easily sink hundreds of hours into, and for many players, 1,000 plus isn't even that ridiculous. Like I said before, the game has been around for a solid 5.5 years. After all this time, people are still playing. How many games can you think of that have a dedicated player base after that long? No matter your answer, you're going to be naming off some absolute titans of gaming history, and Warframe stands amongst them, proud and strong. And with a 24-hour peak of over 60,000 at the time of writing, its player count compares to or beats that of many current popular games. But how does a 5-year-old game manage to retain a player base this large, while consistently managing to grow that player base over time? In my opinion, a big part of it is the game's social experience, which is identical to MMOs in a lot of ways. Warframe provides the perfect framework to allow friends to get together and focus not so much on the game, but on each other and having a good time. You can provide only minimal attention to the game and still get through missions just fine, meaning that you can farm together with your friends without burning your brain like you would in other titles in the genre. I know that sounds like a strange praise of the game, and it is. It's weird to say. Praising a game for your ability to turn your brain off and not think about playing it is strange. But the fact that I can put in so little effort and get so much entertainment out is surprisingly an absolute joy. Having something to do that's mindless, offering reliable escapism, while setting you up for success at all times is something that's surprisingly welcome in my life. However, if I wanted a game that was only an escape and only a mindless experience, there are thousands of others I could choose from, so why Warframe? Well, that's the million-dollar question now, isn't it? My guess is that, well, it's the combat as part of it. The combat is phenomenal. Shooting guns, moving around, using abilities. It all just feels so incredibly rewarding. The sound design on some of the latest content is out of this world levels of good and adds so much to the experience. Warframe feels like it's living, like it's breathing, like it's alive. The crafting system is incredibly simple yet addictive, and this comment is coming from somebody who has a burning hatred for creating and crafting items and gear or whatever else in pretty much every other game that has it. Let's go a bit out of order here, and we'll start off with that feeling of the game being alive and have a look at the star chart. This is your map, from which you select your missions, and it's ever changing. Enemy factions are constantly invading each other, wrestling control of planets away from one another while you're smacked right into the middle of their power struggle. Time-limited alert missions are commonplace, oftentimes offering unique or powerful rewards. Oftentimes, these rewards are exciting enough to make you drop whatever it is that you're doing to run and complete these alerts instead. You're going to be legitimately excited when you see an alert offering a rare reward you desperately need, such as Voban parts, which is one of the Warframes in the game, or a Nitane extract, which is a very rare resource in the game. You also have a daily, high difficulty mission set called a Sortie, which we've mentioned a few times already, offering some of the best rewards the game has to offer. These time-limited missions add a sense of urgency to the game that make you want to play, and make you hurt when you're not playing. Normally, I'd dislike this, but again, we're playing a looter shooter. This is intentionally part of the fun, and is enjoyed by the vast majority of the active player base. And all of this only encompasses the smallest taste of what else is happening within the game. You've got the Kuva Fortress, which is a moving fortress flying around the star system, messing with the planets that it surrounds. The planet Earth has a day-night cycle. There's player hubs floating around in the galaxy, which are places where they're like towns. They're places where living and breathing people congregate. There's a rare items vendor who is basically Warframe's version of Xur that sells really rare stuff, unique stuff, exclusive stuff that you always should be on the lookout for when he's around. And there's so much more on top of all this. Put it all together, the game feels alive. There's always something happening. There's always new content right around the corner, which helps the feelings of stagnation remain at bay. Switching gears yet again, I'd love to indulge in the mobility of Warframe. I come from a pedigree of titles that are all about fast and high skill movement. Traversing maps as quickly as possible is cathartic for me, and is one of the biggest selling points of this game. You'll see examples of this all throughout the video, but you've got double jumps, bullet jumps, wall runs, wall climbs, rolls that you can be repurposing and using in mid-air to make an air dodge, and all kinds of more stuff than that. With minimal practice, each of these pieces can be strung together to make you feel not like a space soldier, but a proper space ninja. This game forces you to feel cool at all points in time, whether you want to or not, and it's an absolute joy. Finally, let's talk crafting. In your personal player ship, you've got the Foundry. Here is where you forge your weapons, warframes, companions, consumable items, and more. This is your ticket to progression in the game. Warframes and weapons level up just by using them in missions. However, you've got a special and separate account level called Mastery Rank. That rank only goes up by leveling up as many weapons and warframes as you can. It's kind of like a total XP, if you will. There are mechanical rewards to getting this mastery rank as high as you can, but realistically, it's mostly for bragging rights and to show just how much of a sick nerd baller you actually are. Basically, if you want to progress to better and better gear, you're going to need to bite the bullet on some below average stuff every now and then. The reward, though, is pretty much always worth it. And the great part about this system, which saves it from being a huge negative, is that you can interact with it as quickly or slowly as you want. It's modular. If you're trying to pump your mastery rank, throw 3 new weapons and a brand new warframe at it simultaneously, pump their rank up, and you will get that mastery rank soaring as fast as possible. Or you can just use one new item with a bunch of otherwise good stuff you actually like, and passively level that weird dagger you don't want to use without ever even swinging it once. The choice is totally yours. You're never forced into a bad loadout. At worst, you use just one item that isn't a good fit for a day, 2 days, then you move on. You never touch it again. You sell it, and you're done. The modularity is what saves this system, and the addictive nature of watching your brand new warframes cooking in the oven, so to speak, is the drug that keeps lots of players interested. I know it's what drove me the most when I first started, and I know it's going to drive you as well. While there's so much more that I could gush about when it comes to Warframe, I'd like to wrap things up here. This is a game that, while sometimes irritating, repetitive, grindy, still manages to keep me entertained and engaged and involved, even after all these years. I'm happy to keep it in my rotation, and I am rarely unhappy to be exploding entire armies while traveling at Mach 6. It's the perfect game for me to play when I want to sit back and relax, but still offers challenging content for me to actually turn my brain on for, should I choose to play it. Warframe is one of the best social games I've ever played, giving me a fantastic way of occupying my brain in the background while I talk to my friends online about other stuff entirely. I know some of these praises are out there. But it's the honest truth of what appeals to me the most, and I hope you will agree once you start playing as well. And as a cliff note before we end, this wasn't actually in the script, but as I've been going through this, and some of my subscribers have been kind of talking to me about this in my Discord server, I think it's important to kind of at least shove this in at the end. It probably should be in the start of the video, but I'm shoving it at the end. This is a free-to-play game. There is a premium currency, Platinum. Digital Extremes, the developers of this game, want you to spend money on this game. In many cases, the game will try to bait you into spending money. This is not a bad thing. This is not toxic. This is not a reason for you to not support the game. It is not bad. These are human beings working tirelessly to create a living product for you. Not just a game that, you know, they make for 2 to 3 years, put out, and they're done. This is a living product that is constantly being updated and changed. This is the definition of games as a service. Paying real money for Platinum is not a bad thing. You are not cheating. You are not supporting poor video gaming culture or whatever you want to say, whatever alarmist stuff you would see on other YouTube channels out there. This game isn't that, okay? It's not. Now, it's kind of hard to give them money sometimes because the prices for Platinum, the premium currency, which you don't technically need for anything other than like Warframe slots and weapon slots, which are important, but you know, not the biggest, most important thing in the world. I mean, you can get that plat in game. But anyways, the point I was making, this Platinum is priced pretty ridiculously at base, but when you're playing the game normally, you're going to get login rewards, and sometimes the login reward is going to be a 50% off or 75% off coupon for the store online. Basically, what you want to do is if you like the game enough to want to drop money on it to thank the developers for making a good video game, which you ought to do, by the way, wait till you get one of those coupons and then buy some plat. You know, just do that. Just set aside $50, wait for that 75% off coupon, and then buy, instead of $200 worth of plat, buy $50 worth of plat, and you're done. You're loaded for the rest of your life in Warframe. You have everything you could ever possibly want in terms of cosmetics and all the exclusive Platinum-only purchases in the game. You can buy super rare mods from other players, so you don't have to farm them if you choose, whatever the case may be. You spend like $50 one time, and you're pretty much golden. You're pretty much just done with that side of things. You never have to farm for Platinum ever again, which, by the way, you can farm in-game. If you don't want to pay any money to Digital Extremes, you can farm for items, for mods, whatever, that you can sell to other players on the in-game trading market for Platinum. So you never need to spend a dime on this game. If you don't want to, you can still get premium currency. You can still buy premium cosmetics and stuff if you really want to. It's all there. It's all good. It's not something to be upset about. It's not something to blow up Digital Extremes about. Warframe is, anecdotally, just from what I've read online, generally considered to be one of, if not the best implemented free-to-play models for a game ever. So don't worry about it. It's good. Okay? All right. That's enough of that. Thank you. Anyways, back to our regularly scheduled script. Thank you all so much for watching, and I hope that this video has been successful in sharing at least a part of my love for Warframe with you. If you're interested in the game and want to try it out, I'll leave a referral link in the description box down below. You'll get a free experience booster alongside some other goodies, so make sure to take advantage of that. And by the way, I know the experience booster sounds like bogus, like in a lot of games it's completely pointless. It legitimately matters in Warframe, like it legitimately does. So I know it sounds like I'm shilling myself, but trust me, just get the free booster. Just take your free booster, okay? Just get the free booster. Just free booster, okay? Do it. Anyways, we have a healthy Warframe community over in my Discord, discord.gg/frothyOmen, or you can just find the link down below as well. We're all more than happy to help you cultivate your love for Warframe, which is only speeding up in its quality and scope after all these years. If you'd like to see more reviews like this, or perhaps a Devil's Advocate video where we're a bit more critical of the game, sound off below. If you really like this video, like a lot, consider supporting me over on Patreon or Twitch as well. This review has been a lot of fun to make, and I hope that all of that shows. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you soon. Take care.